So today is the day for the first test pump. So excited.
1559. Trial 1, the Gut 3000.
I've had the pump heating up for, I don't know, probably 20-30 minutes at the moment, just because the first half is actually filled with solid wax, so I need to probably let that have an hour or so to melt. And by that section I'm just talking about the part here. I've already done a little test just to check that wax came out of here. So you can see that's pretty much heated up now. What is that, 75 out of 80? That shouldn't be too long. But yeah, I'm just about to connect this, so you'll see me do that. That's all done, as I've mentioned, and then I'm just about to cut a little hole in here while I'm kind of giving everything time to heat up. That happens when I completely remove this section of the mould. Pretty clean. Oh, I can't believe I'm here. This has been like just completely imagined by me for like months. Not too bad actually. Not perfect, but oh fuck, it is here. So sorry. Oh, so this is what I am squealing about. So I've just got the pump into the mould. I'm just going to fill up these the holes around here. Again, I'll be waiting a little bit longer for it to turn on, but then it is ready. The machine's always so much nicer when you first built it, and once you use it, like sometimes just once, you're just a bit like ugh, every time after that. And I can just tell, I already knew these threads wouldn't be friendly for that, but the way I can see the clay sticking into it, it's fine. I mean, they're plated with zinc, I think, to help a bit, but just a bit mangy to work with. Whereas at the moment everything's still like so shiny and new. That's actually not bad. I am also sort of relying on the fact that there's such a temperature difference between the clay, the wax and the actual aluminium of both this and the print bed, that actually I'm hoping, even if there are gaps like this, the kind of shock present will just seal pretty quickly. Yeah, there is still a leak. Oh, really don't want to have to slide this whole thing out, but okay, so we are here at the final the final stage. All that needs to be done now is well, actually that just needs to be connected, but what I'm trying to say is all the temperatures are right. That will take a few moments to connect. All the temperatures are set, everything's warm, everything's on, everything's hot, and as I've just shown you, this is what I've just been doing, and this is now ready to be filled with wax and hopefully drained. However, I can't believe we've hit this point, so yeah, I'll be making sure to film this in a moment.
Feb 1559. Trial 1, the Gut 3000.
Oh, terrifying.
don't know what order is going to be best. Never mind, I've never done this. This is the first time powering up a machine.
Immersion voyage.
Oh my god, so as soon as I open those, basically that's going to fill up with wax, I think.
Okay.
Oh my god. Just keep an eye for any spillages. Oh, fuck. Yeah, oh my god, yes. Oh my god! Mate. Oh my god, can you video the speed of this please? Oh my god. Mate.
Oh my god.
Can you video this a bit more actually? Fuck.
Oh my god.
There's
Yes!
so funny. So I've got the motor on backwards if that's wrong. Okay, and then literally in a minute we're going to reverse the pump.
Okay.
Fuck.
So letting it cool down a
Just
little
actually
bit.
don't watch out.
Yes. 100 kg of wax.
Probably about 80, about 140 litres. Right, I'm going to reverse the pump. Fuck it, I don't actually need to get a perfect thing at the moment. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 1 minute, one way. Look at it dragging!
Oh my god.
Mate, come on. Now we need to see how clean this is. It's going to tense. Fuck it. Oh my god, look at it, look at it, look at it.
Oh my god.
Look at this, look at this, look at this. Mate, no issues. First fucking go.
Yes!
So you can just see behind me the bomb site that is left. But overall, I had a very successful first pump on the machine. No spillages, no kind of crazy over pressurized parts. I think I'd mentioned it, but my main worry was that the kind of downward pressure from the having so much, like, I guess the 70 litres on top was going to force down the wax, pushing it through here, and then it was ultimately going to hit the mould and push up and cover my studio. So I'm really glad that didn't happen. I've got a couple little bits to iron out, one of which is when it's retrieving the wax out of the mould on the reverse pumping side of the process, because the copper pipes, I don't know, 30 mil from the base, it means there's up to the centre of the copper pipe, because obviously at this point it will start pulling air down the line, so it means it's about 30 mil, 20 mil at the bottom. I'm going to get around that by just putting an elbow on the end of the copper pipe, so that'll almost be hoovering right from the floor. So that's like a very kind of minor solution, a very quick, easy solution, I mean. But yeah, the machine worked flawlessly actually for the first time. Effectively the motor does 2,800 revolutions per minute, which equates to about 50 or 60 litres, so it means we'd be draining that in 2 or 3 minutes. I actually only needed to climb to about, I think, 300 at points, 500 at its 510, I think, at its max point. And I really like, actually, I'll show you in one moment, but one thing I discovered, because of the temperature difference between the clay and the wax being 80-ish, 88 degrees, the clay being room temperature, which at the moment is fucking cold. It is warming up slightly, but generally over the winter it's been quite cold. So because of that thermal shock, the wax obviously sets on contact with the clay. One thing that I really like is as I fill the mould slowly, as the wax fills the mould, it almost ripples up it and sets at each point. So you get these almost these extra layer lines that form in the sculpture. And on some points they almost start to even look like creases that you get in your flesh, or like the imprints of like fingerprints. Again, like muscular kind of tendons and things. It starts to have that sort of vascular language. But one of my absolute favourite things is actually that it arcs back to... I'll obviously show you an example of this close up in a moment, but I just want to point out that it kind of arcs back to my sort of origins with printing, which is, I'm just checking the camera to see if we can get a good shot of this, which is when it's extruded directly into the plastic, or in this case the bronze based filament. But you get these kind of layer lines. So this is from a 3D printing process known as fused deposition modelling, which is where it's actually extruded as almost a continuous noodle. But yeah, that kind of layering is a very common language of that process of 3D printing. And what I found out was, as you run the wax in, if you do it slow, and I used to pour in really slowly to get that, but with this I've actually got greater control. I can just turn the knob of the motor, adjusting the speed, and I can create those rippling layer lines, which again nod towards these kind of vascular notions of a human body, but also we're kind of arcing back to my origins. So I'm just going to clip this in and show you a little bit of that sort of effect. Let's take the camera off here. Again, the larger mould is under here, and we ran in a few days. Test moulds here, which currently looks like a little house for the mice that come into the studio. But this was placed about halfway in, and then the wax was pumped in and pumped back out. The rippling that I'm showing you, you can just see, might have the wrong lens on for this really. Can you see here, along here, these kind of ripples? So you don't get that if you fill immediately, but this is actually something I get by filling so slowly. So what I have to do now, well, first of all, I need to have a little tidy of the studio. It's always the case after these moments. It's kind of, start to kind of come down and do the washing up. So yeah, I'll be tidying up the studio. Mainly just this desk. I actually just need to clear some space. And then all of the holes that have formed in between the noodling of the large mould, which is the first mould for my public sculpture. I'll be patching those holes up, making the entry hole for the pump that I've built, and then filling it up and pumping it full of wax and then draining it. So this will probably be the end of this video, as I've just been going over running the test pump, printing the test mould, running the test pump. Just been going through that sort of process, so you can kind of see a little bit behind my kind of theoretical approach to the pump and the new casting process. You'll obviously see, and the real life application of it, of course. But again, that's still sort of theoretical for this, because there are going to be factors that change. There's undercuts, there's body parts that I'm particularly. I was supposed to be wrapping up, but just one last thing on this particular piece, the figure, his or their arm rather, is lowered like so, and the problem is, as the wax, say that the entry hole is in the torso, for example. So this mould is, as I say, from waist up to neck, and there's one arm that comes down like this. So the wax will fill. It'll only be at armpit height actually that this begins to fill with wax. So this will already be full. We'll then get an overspill, which will trickle down the arm and fill this cavity up. The problem with that is, well, one, I won't get the first sort of rippling, but the main issue, actually, just on a sort of functional casting level, is actually as I go to do the reverse and drain the mould, once we get down to the armpit, there's going to be no suction applied to this arm, and this actually will cast solid. So there's a few little things I need to work around with that. If I'd predicted this up front, I might have put a little chimney in here, or a connecting part, just to allow for air escape and wax escape. But because I haven't, because again it was one of those things, you can only understand so much in theory. It's one of those things I had to discover actually kind of with my hands. So the plan for this, I think, is I'm going to be inserting a few copper pipes into various points, and maybe heating them with a MAP gas torch, just to keep them heated, again keep the flow happening, no coolage, no blockage. no cooling in the pipes and no blockages. That's what I mean. So next video, I imagine I'll be, as I say, filling up the holes in the mould, pumping with wax, and going through that at scale. I'm curious to see actually just how much wax out of this gets drained, and this will also stipulate the size of the moulds going forward. This is supposed to be the smallest of the 7 or 8 moulds I'm making. Actually, 6 moulds. This was supposed to be the smallest of 6 moulds. I think if the volume of this matches almost my full volume of wax, I will have to make all the moulds around this size. Obviously, the other option is I get another wax melter, which for this project is I'm not kind of interested. It would delay the project too much for me to get another melter, build the whole heated pump system onto that melter as well. So my option at this point will just be to break the mould into smaller pieces, and maybe I have to make the mould in 8 parts rather than 6, or 10 rather than 6, or something like that. Which is still a far better option than my original approach to the project, which was going to be that I'd cast in pieces, I don't know, probably yay big. Like even this casting in one is quite, like, you get these kind of dangerous areas. So even casting this in one really was going to be, like, casting it that size and sticking it together be problematic. Again, it's very heavy even at that size to lift by hand on your own. Even with somebody else, they've got this quality that, again, I think some of the most interesting men possess this quality, but they're really heavy. They're really kind of thick and big framed, but they're actually so delicate when they become to get handled and touched. And I love that parallel actually between a whole body of work that kind of talks about masculinity and these kind of figures of these men themselves. Mate, no issues. First fucking go.
Yeah.